Captain America, the
Hi.
Golden Age with that shield right there.
Yep.
And we have the Captain here, and then we're gonna check out.
Strangelife's is also Golden Age.
He's Golden Age, but he makes it look good. He's younger, but we're at Fan Expo here 2024. But great costume.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. I'm part of the Costumers with a Cause. It's a charity group organization. So we dress up in our favorite superhero or Disney characters, and we visit hospitals, and we do Make-A-Wish Foundation and all that sort of thing. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Make-A-Wish has been around for years,
Yes,
and wonderful thing. Well, good luck with your ventures, and you look great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're about to step into the Comic-Con Fan Expo, and we have no idea what we're going to pick up. So we're hoping for the best. We'll see. Golden Age all the way, silver. Hey, we have a fan of the show here, and it's great to be recognized. We love looking for those obscure books, Silver Age books. What type of books are you looking for in the con today?
Miscellaneous, Golden Age, Good Girl.
Okay, there's a box right there. You gotta check that out here. Like all here, we just looking at the Target comics right there. So yeah, thanks for watching the show, and tune in. We're gonna have more content soon.
All right.
comic books here, and this is Comic Interlude, is that right?
Yep, Comic Interlude.
Oh, what kind of books do you bring to the con?
Mostly Bronze Age, Silver Age raw books are what I'm known for.
a little bit of everything.
Today we're getting rid of a lot of bronze and silver and copper age on just raw books. Lots of stuff.
And this is a sea of comic books if you ever did see it. I'm looking at some Black Hole right here. Great movie with the Palomino, and just a lot over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Fan Expo with Zombie Unicorn Comics, Bela Be sure to check out his show coming up. What is it?
September 14th. Let's go.
September 14th, all day long comic book.
We'll be there too.
And
We'll be there.
Oh yeah, Zombie's gonna be there.
Zombie Unicorn Comics will be there.
If you're in Chicagoland, this is the place to be.
Stanley's going to be there.
All right. Some hefty promises there. But it's a lot of fun. If you hang out with these guys, never a dull moment.
No, 36 pages.
36 pages?
If they say 38, then they count the back.
No, no.
And the first, well, these are for me. I bought these.
Oh. Is that the first round?
No, it's the first
Oh,
cover that
122.
it's the first cover that Catwoman was on. Master Comics.
Oh, yeah.
This one I don't know. It's okay.
I almost bought that one.
Let's see.
Is it glaring?
Oh, wow. Yeah, we'll take a break. Hey there, fellow time travelers and comic book aficionados. I had the opportunity this past weekend to visit Fan Expo with my good friend and fellow YouTuber, Captainstrangelife. And we met with a lot of comic book dealers, shuffled through a lot of boxes, and pulled some really neat finds from the Silver Age, some Golden Age books, modern, and it was a great time. We also met some new friends that we're talking with and learning about comic book history from the Chicagoland area. We reminisced about past comic convention when Fan Expo was called Wizard World, and even before that, Comic-Con, founded by Larry Charrett in the early 70s. So we met some great friends and we'll hope to connect in the future. And it was just great to be a part of the con. It was truly amazing to see a number of comic book vendors from the Midwest, in particular Jim Droese of JD Comics in Wisconsin, Power Comics from Green Bay, Wisconsin, as well as Comic Interlude from Lexington, Kentucky, and Black Cat Comics, Reese's Comics, and a lot more, just offering some great books, some hidden treasures, and ones that might be harder to find at your local comic shop. And that's what made going to the expo a lot more fun and easy to pick up those hard to find books. It was great gauging the interest of fellow comic collectors as they were shuffling through the comic boxes, seeing what they had to pick out. At one point, I was next to Deadpool in full costume, picking up books in, guess what, Deadpool series, and also Superman, Batman, and a number of recognizable heroes. At one point, as I was looking through some books for my own collection, I heard a voice from Don. And Don happened to be a fan of the channel. He watched our videos and also Captainstrangelife. And we had a great conversation about the books of the past and our experiences going to the local comic shops that used to be around in the 90s and the early 2000s, some of which are no longer there, including Larry Charrett's Nostalgia Comics shop that's in Rogers Park. So talking about the sign designed by John Byrne in his window, talking about comic collections sold for store credit was just a truly amazing way to talk about history and the passion of comic collecting. So a shout out to Don. If you're watching, we got to do some lunch sometime with the captain. We'd love to hear more stories, and it was a pleasure meeting you, Don, and that made the con even more worthwhile. And all right, let's not delay any further. Let's take a look at some comic covers and pickups. And to start off, I was filling gaps in my Star Wars collection. So filling some of these, starting with an early Whitman variant, issue number 7, and the action unfolds with Chewbacca right there, and that logo that's iconic of the 80s. Just Loving 80s that just released a video, part 1 from 1980 to 1981, featuring Star Wars and 80s delight. And also here, number 16 of the story with floating heads, as you could see, the characters and some blasters. So just adding to the early run, pre-50 issue run that I'm looking to complete. And here I was able to find right here 25, 26, and 27, right in succession with this air and space combat cover right there. So neat to see that. Loving the oranges. It really screams 80s in my opinion. Here we have a Damage R2D2, that's not good, and Luke Skywalker. And again, a fun, iconic cover with the characters that we know. And this happens to be issue number 26 and then 27. Again, this time with C-3PO and Luke Skywalker. So adding to the collection of Star Wars with those four, we're off to a good start. Also, I picked up a Captain America featuring the Falcon. It happens to be a newsprint variant, and this is issue number 215. And just like the gray tone in the back, it creates a mural of the enemies and other characters mixed in, and just makes like a movie poster. So eager to read this book right there. Also doubling up on some square bounds from DC, a Detective Comics number 440 with a great cover with the blues and the dark purple with the creature in the background and the lady in distress. Also some features for Robin, Hawkman, and including Dollman, which was a Golden Age goodie that DC had to offer. Nice shape for a square bound. Happy to pick these up for $5, so a great deal there. And this is also from the same vendor, Supergirl. Little different stories featuring her character right there. And this is issue number 373 of Supergirl. So great to pick up those. Getting into Marvel characters, two Spider-Man comics that I also picked up. This happens to be issue 128 featuring the Vulcan, and issue 129 happens to be the introduction of the Punisher. So this book is 1 month before it, and one that I didn't have, so I saw it at a good price, and again, that was for $5 as well. And these are getting to be expensive, usually $12 to $20 for something of this particular run. A king size annual, number 2 from 1965. This happens to be, has a Doctor Strange Spider-Man crossover, great artwork by Steve Ditko, as well as a Doctor Doom versus Spider-Man appearance, which is really neat, and was able to steal this for $15 because it was in a discount bin because of the tape right there. But nonetheless, the inside is fully complete, and it features some of the iconic stories that we know in this annual number 2. So here we have Doctor Strange, and we have that artwork right there, including in the back of the book, Doctor Doom. So very popular right now, very appropriate. I usually see a low grade copy from $60 to $100 with a high grade of above $100. And this was half off from $30, $15. It was a no-brainer, even if it has this masking tape right there. It reminded me of Pop Hollinger. Pop Hollinger repaired comic books, put staples, and even stamped that it was from Pop Hollinger's comic shop. I was hoping that this was a Pop Hollinger, but it wasn't. And he happens to be one of the earliest comic book store owners who had his story written in the Overstreet Price Guide. So if you ever check your Overstreet Price Guide, look for Pop Hollinger and his backstory. In our Lunch and Comics with Captainstrangelife, we talked more at length about Pop. So really neat. I happened to stumble across a booth that had some low-grade $5 books, and I was all over that as low-grade Leo. I try to find some older books that are readable and reader copies, and was able to make out with all 3 of these for $5 a piece, including an early 300 run of Action Comics and a Kurt Swan cover of Superman taking kryptonite bullet to the chest without even flinching. So look at the action, the orange, the green label of Action Comics, great color choice, and just neat to see this Action Comics 291 from 1962. And just can't wait to read that and also see more of Kurt Swan's artwork. 2 Batman beauties side by side right here. You can take a look and see. We have right over here Batgirl and Catwoman duking it out to to fighting over Batman. Love the purple around there. Her green costume right there for Catwoman, and also Batgirl with the belt and the yellow boots. So great issue from December of 1967. Happens to be a Carmine Infantino cover, and just happy to pick that up for $5, including Irv Novick cover. Irv Novick had these thicker lines and a more buff Batman, as you can see here, dodging a trap underwater. Will he survive? And this happens to be from December of 1968. So it's interesting to note, December 1967, December 1968, and that's what I call time traveling and getting these great books. And filling in some horror titles, as I always like some of the monster action in October is around the corner, and that's always a fun time for me to look at some of the monster books. And we have Creatures on the Loose right here. A very busy cover, a lot going on, and this happens to be issue number 14. And just seeing some of that in true Marvel fashion, the labeling right there, and what looks to be like a wooden casket. So looking forward to reading that. Loving the yellow right here and the price label for that 20 cents, and adding that to the collection. My friends at Comic Interlude from Kentucky hooked me up with these two books right here, based after the 1979 movie featuring the Palomino starship going through the black hole. And here we have it in comic form. I do have to look for issue number 1, but there's issue number 2 and 3 right here. And did you know that there's a rare, very expensive 4th issue that is after they pass through the black hole? It tells a time from what happened next. They fall and they find themselves with dinosaurs into the past. So if you ever find that issue, number 4 of this series, it goes for a lot of money. But Comic Interlude hooked me up with these, as well as a few others. It's also because of my love for space and travel. We have Star Hunter and some of these great mesmerizing covers right there. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Doctor Strange. Also some Steve Ditko Charlton Space Adventure mixed in. And Star Hunters was more current in the late 70s and stopping in the early 80s. So I wish this series was a little bit longer. Just loving the titles and picking up these. So happy to read these have these in the collection as well. And we're not done talking about space just yet, as I found a great comic book, one that's rather rare and that I spent a little bit more money for, $60, for this IW comic. It's also known as Super Comics. Is Israel Waldman purchased the right to presses for the comic book and printed some unseen Golden Age stories. And some of those are in here and others are reprinted. And we have a Wally Wood, Joe Orlando cover that's been used before. And I love the golden flying saucer with the fearsome green aliens overlooking the futuristic cityscape right there. I do have a collection of the IW comics and reprints, and this one was not in my collection, and I had to splurge and get it, especially since it was a high-grade copy from 1958. And another book that I found completely by surprise was from JD Comics, and I was talking with Jim Droese, which stands for JD Comics, and we were talking about some of the books that I picked up. I was happy to find them. It was very pleasant. And then I happened to spot on the wall book just a sliver of a cover that was very recognizable to me, and one that I've been looking for quite a few years, and one that I never would think I would see in the wild. And it happened to be The House of Mystery, issue number 64 from July of 1957. And this cover featured this tube and the lady encased in it, and it's a really neat, reminds me of the Pulp Fiction book, including Ray Bradbury, where you see a lot of this theme, sometimes with electricity and an encapsulated person, and this is pretty neat. And of course, this is time travel comic, and we have here from time traveling, and it reads The Human Time Capsule. So loving this particular theme, and happy to have this in the collection. The blacks are perfect, there's no white creasing. It's probably a 5.5 or a 6.0. And this cover is a Ruben Morera cover. Did those science fiction books for DC Comics. And inside we even have some Nick Cardy artwork. So a double win. And was able to take this for $200 and add it to the collection and broke the bank, and no more comic book buying after that, or at least for a while. But it's just truly neat to see something like this. And it happened at Fan Expo. Coincidentally, with the House of Mystery, I found two more of them. These were $2 a piece because of the damage inside and also a missing page in each of them, including this one here, issue number 53 from August of 1956. It features a Bernard Bailey cover, and just neat to see these tall insect-like robots invading and in the community, as well as this issue here with a blindfolded green sphinx creature, and this happens to be issue number 71 from February of 1958. So these are both $2 books. Great supplement to the issue that I bought before, and the covers are worth it. I was happy to find these, and for me, that's part of the fun of hunting. Even if it's very low grade, for a couple bucks, you have the artwork and a fairly complete story. There's a lot represented here. So, and looking around further for some deals, I was able to find two more Golden Age books, and they happen to be from the syndicated comics series, including Smiling Jack, which was from the Chicago Tribune. Dick Tracy, Orphan Annie, Smiling Jack here in his own book from January to March of 1949. We have the pilot, his romances, his action represented, and I truly like this. It reminds me of James Bond. We have an adventurous pilot flying around, and even some Casablanca-like scenes as he's in airports and talking to the madams around, and it's just pretty neat. He even does well in a plaid suit. And then we also have Ace Comics with King Feature Syndicate that brought us some great classics like Popeye, The Phantom. This is Captainstrangelife Kids. I was talking with the Captain Strangeliffe over a few beers, and we got into it on how to pronounce it. Katzenjammer. And I'm saying it right, it's Katzenjammer Kids, right, Captain Strangeliffe? And also Jungle Jim and Brick Bradford are featured in here. And some of the artwork for Brick Bradford with the action sequences and Good Girl Madam Art is also in these fun books. So don't be fooled if it looks like child humor, because inside you have the Phantom, you have Brick Bradford and Jungle Jim, which is a lot of adventure, even though the cover looks whimsical and kid-like, as they're covering up their grades right there, adding a plus. So happy to add this to the collection. Anytime I see King Comics, Ace Comics, Blondie, I usually try to pick these up, even if they're missing chunks of it. They're pretty beat up. Because for me, they're part of that Golden Age history, as well as Smiling Jack. I also was able to pick up for $10 Target Comics right here. I did some mending to it when I got home because there's pieces that were ripped, the cover was torn, but for $10, just like the other books, you have a series of different comics. The Cadet is featured in here, the Targeteers are featured, there's a few other stories as well. The back cover here, the Foremost, which is its own comic series. Night Tiger Comics, professional and expert on Golden Age books. He'll probably know more about the Foremost comic series, as well as Captain Midnight and what have you. And Target Comics is a lot of fun and kind of hard to find, but this one was in need of a lot of TLC and mending, but for 10 bucks it's complete. Was able to get it with this red cover right here and what looks to be a ghost, but it's really somebody covered up in a bed sheet. So another golden age goodie right there. And of course, my love for Archie never fails. I always have to leave from the con with a book of Archie. And here we have issue number 43 from March, April of 1950. So when you think of the 50s, you think of poodle skirts, you think of cars, jukeboxes, and you think of Archie and milkshake covers, and was able to pick that up. Oh, milkshake, you say? Well, of course, I love milkshakes and soda fountains. And here we have William from Bela Comics right there. This happens to be issue number 676 of the 4-color series. So this was my ending of what I found at the collection. And look how he's paying for that milkshake. I wish I could pay for comics with a broken comb, a brush, a yo-yo. The captain and I were looking at this cover and we saw bottle caps, pencils, but we said for sure there has to be a yo-yo because every kid back in the day had a yo-yo. But nonetheless, just a fun cover. I wish we had more soda fountains today. And in conclusion, the captain and I went for a late dinner. By the time we sat down, we started at the con at 4 o'clock. We got into the restaurant around 9:30, 10 o'clock to enjoy some sliders, french fries, and a bucket of cold beers, and to share our spoils and what we found. And we exchanged some comics, and the captain gave me this really fun cover right there, and it happens to be right on the corner, a Wrightson cover from 1975, really cool, as well as another House of Mystery. Loving these dollar comics. They're so thick and heavy that there's a lot of pages to be read. It's going to take me a good couple hours to get through this one. But if you have a haunted house and a flying saucer and a creature, that's the trifecta of good comic. And argue with me if you can. What do you think? Starships, creatures, and haunted houses, you have everything right there. This is comics right there. I think the captain for this book, and this also happens to be another Wrightson cover. And we have the end to the House of Mystery. This is our host at every comic book leaving the premises. Kind of a sad cover. I'm eager to read that. And also a copy of a facsimile of Archie. Now you know you made it big with Archie if you have a facsimile, and this happens to be an innuendo cover with beating off the guys as they're trying to get to her. So it's take it any way you want. That's subject to interpretation. This was brought to our attention by Greg of Lead Paint, a follower of our channel and a fan. He likes Archie, the captain liked it, so we talked about it. And without Greg's advice, we would never know to pick this up. So thank you, Greg, Lead Paint, for letting us know about this. So it was a great con. We met with some great vendors, with Jim Droese at JD Comics. Comic Interlude was there. Just great to see these vendors year after year. And we met a fan of the channel, Don. We have to do a lunch in comics and talk more. Reach out to us. You have our number. And it was a lot of fun. So thank you for hanging around with me as we looked at some of the finds that I picked up from Fan Expo. And don't change that dial just yet. I'd like to put in a plug for BelaCon number 3. It will be taking place on September 14th, and a number of local vendors will be there. If you're in the Chicagoland area, be sure to stop by. It's on the north side of the city. Bela Comics puts together the show, and a lot of great vendors like Cheese and Keys, as well as Find My Keys, and other vendors will be represented. So BelaCon, great, and also my local comic shop, Zombie Unicorn Comics, will be there too. They always have a great number of copies and comics that you need to fill your collection, and they're always willing to work with you. They also do a phenomenal job of pressing books and also projects that involve printing with Rye ink. So Zombie Unicorn Comics, Bela Bela Comics, be there.